So what happens in a mediation meeting? So you've gathered all your documents, you've hired somebody to be your mediator, and you have that first meeting, right? Well, I will tell you what happens in a mediation meeting really depends on the mediator, and everybody has their own style and their own sense of process. But what happens in a mediation meeting with us is that we're going to start to talk through all the assets, talk through the house, talk through the cars, and we're going to have a list of everything that's owned. If we're dealing with a business valuation, there's an entire process that we go through for just the valuation. And it's a similar process in most clients. We're taking the information, we're reviewing the historical results, we're asking questions, and we're asking questions about the business or the financial situation with both people in the room or on a Zoom. A lot of this is being conducted online via Zoom. And so we're getting the mediator an understanding of what the true financial picture is. Another piece that's pretty important in this process is understanding your income and expenses. So, a lot of times we'll say, download the past 12 months of activity in your bank account. And that's usually readily available online, or get the past 12 to 24 months of bank statements and upload those. And what we're looking at is what's going to happen after this divorce. What's your expenses? What is your income going to be as separate individuals having separate households? Okay. And that's going to be a discussion through it. But we're initially just trying to understand what are the big issues. A lot of times the couple has a tremendous amount of questions, like what happens to this? What happens to the kids for college? Who's going to pay this amount? How do we agree to this? And so a lot of times those first meetings are just talking through the specifics of your case, understanding what your concerns are, major concerns. Where do you agree already? A lot of times you might already agree on certain areas. And then where do you disagree? Typically the disagreements are going to be in areas that you may not totally understand what happens in a divorce. So the mediator's role is to give you a lot of that information and to ask those questions. Eventually you'll start to go through kind of agreeing, who wants the house. And a lot of times we're saying, okay, if both of you want the house, what are the options? If none of you wants the house, what are the options? And we're talking through, is that an understandable option? For example, if you're getting divorced in a January, February, and maybe selling a house at that time isn't a great idea because the kids have to stay in a certain school district until the school year ends. Sometimes there's houses that are kept until the kids go to college. And then there's an agreement of what happens with the house at that date. Okay. So there's a lot of ways in mediation that you can come up with an option that maybe a judge wouldn't determine. But when you guys talk it through, it makes sense for your family.